The Xylosian Confederacy's deep space exploration vessel, Stellar Whisper, a sleek, dark-hulled craft designed for quiet reconnaissance and long-duration missions, sliced through the cosmic void, its advanced sublight engines barely disturbing the silence of space as it finally arrived in the outer reaches of the Sol system. Their mission, designated Operation Silent Cradle, was a routine, albeit solemn, endeavor to thoroughly catalog dead civilizations and identify any potential resource worlds left in their wake. Grim but necessary task for a rapidly expanding galactic community constantly in search of new frontiers and sustainable energy sources. 500,000 standard galactic years had meticulously ticked by since the last confirmed trace of the dominant sentient species on the third planet from this sun. The world they referred to as Terra in their ancient records, but which was more commonly known throughout the galaxy by its original, simple designation, Earth. The long-range primary scans, conducted with the Stellar Whisper's most sensitive gravimetric and atmospheric sensors, had unequivocally confirmed what was expected: a vibrant Class M world. Surface, a swirling tapestry of azure oceans and emerald landmasses, teeming with diverse life forms, but utterly, completely devoid of any detectable technological signature. There were no sprawling cities glowing with artificial light, no complex energy grids humming beneath the surface, no bustling orbital space stations hanging like jewels in the void above. Humanity, the once promising, rapidly advancing species, was just another faded entry in the vast, melancholic archives of galactic history. A cautionary tale whispered among younger civilizations about the ephemeral nature of even the most brilliant sparks of intelligence. Another civilization that had risen, flourished, and then, for reasons unknown, simply vanished on the bridge of the Stellar Whisper. A space bathed in the soft glow of holographic displays and the quiet hum of advanced machinery, Captain Vlorian, a being of distinguished bearing with skin that shimmered with crystalline blue scales, stood observing the main view screen. A perfectly rendered holographic projection of Earth spun slowly before him, its serene beauty a stark contrast to the grim reality of its empty, silent legacy. "Another beautiful, empty cradle," he murmured, his voice a low, resonant hum that barely broke the quiet of the bridge. It's a sentiment echoing through the vastness of the cosmos and the desolate history of countless forgotten worlds. Beside him, Lyra, his science officer, her smaller, more agile frame, composed of swirling, dark nebulae contained within a shimmering, semi-transparent shell, meticulously analyzed the preliminary data feeds, scrolling rapidly across her personal console. She was one of the Confederacy's brightest minds, known for her unparalleled attention to detail and an almost intuitive grasp of complex sensor readings. Their initial atmospheric compositions, geological surveys, and biological samplings indicated nothing out of the ordinary. The planet was simply a thriving natural ecosystem, a verdant jewel reclaiming its surface after the disappearance of its most prominent inhabitants, a testament to nature's relentless persistence. As they prepared to dispatch a series of automated survey drones, small, nimble craft equipped with highly sensitive probes designed for close-range environmental analysis and detailed mapping of planetary surfaces into Earth's swirling atmosphere. A faint, almost imperceptible energy spike registered on one of Lyra's secondary long-range sensors. It emanated from deep orbit, a fleeting, ghost-like signature that appeared for mere microcycles before dissolving back into the background noise of space. It was a minuscule anomaly, easily dismissed. Lyra's multispectral display flickered, highlighting the almost non-existent blip. It was so faint, so brief, that many less experienced sensor operators would have filtered it out as sensor bleed or cosmic dust. She paused, her ethereal form momentarily still as she refined her analytical filters, isolating the anomaly. It held for another fleeting moment, a ghost in the machine, then vanished. Residual gravitational interference from a passing comet. Perhaps, she mused aloud, her voice a soft, melodic hum. Okay. Her brow furrowed infinitesimally, a subtle sign of her inherent inquisitiveness, or a minor anomaly within the long-defunct human debris field, if any still existed. The vastness of space was full of such fleeting phenomena. Ghost readings, cosmic background radiation, the remnants of ancient, long-dead satellites slowly disintegrating after eons of neglect. It was common to encounter such things near formerly inhabited worlds, where even the tiniest speck of ancient technology could produce a unique, albeit weak, signature. Captain Florian, already reviewing the more pressing geological readings, indicating potential mineral deposits, merely nodded, accepting her logical assessment without further inquiry. Log it as background noise, Lyra, he instructed, his attention already shifting to the projected topographic maps of Earth's largest landmasses, searching for promising sites for resource extraction. His focus remained firmly on the primary mission objectives, the quantifiable data of the present, not the phantom whispers of a long-past civilization. He had seen countless dead worlds, and they rarely held surprises beyond the expected detritus of forgotten ages. The stellar whisper hummed contentedly around the silent Earth, its crew confident in their understanding of the system, utterly unaware that the background noise Lyra had just so casually dismissed was not merely static, not merely residual interference, but the first, almost inaudible stirrings of something vast, something impossibly ancient, and something that was very much not dead. It was the faintest whisper of a presence that had been sleeping for 500,000 years, an echo of a civilization that had transcended the very notion of disappearance, and it was about to awaken in a way that would stun the entire galaxy. The silence of soul was about to be profoundly broken, and the Xylosians, poised to catalog a tomb, were instead about to stumble upon a perfectly preserved, entirely unexpected monument. The drones were ready to deploy innocent probes into a history far more complex and active than any could have imagined. The stellar whisper continued its meticulous, almost surgical, orbital survey of Earth, the grand blue-green sphere rotating with majestic slowness beneath them, seemingly unaware of the small, curious vessel that probed its ancient secrets from above, while the crew busied themselves with the final preparations for the drone deployment. These sophisticated autonomous probes were designed to descend through the atmosphere, gather ultra-high-resolution data, and perhaps even collect physical samples from the planet's surface, painting a comprehensive picture of its current biosphere and any lingering geological anomalies. On her console, Lyra, the science officer, meticulously double-checked the calibration of the drone's environmental sensors, her multiple, luminous eyes scanning the complex data matrices. Yet, despite the routine nature of the task, a persistent, almost imperceptible tremor of unease rippled through her. It wasn't anything concrete, just a nagging scientific intuition, a tiny itch at the back of her highly analytical mind that gnawed at her composure. The minuscule energy spike she had registered earlier, initially dismissed as a benign statistical anomaly or mere background noise, refused to fade completely from her memory banks. It was too precise, too fleetingly present, to be truly random. Her scientific training compelled her to investigate further, to understand the unexplained, even if it meant delaying the immediate mission parameters. Lyra decided to run an unscheduled deep-spectrum analysis, pushing the stellar whisper's already advanced long-range sensors to their absolute theoretical limits, bypassing standard filters and delving into the raw cosmic data. She isolated the precise coordinates where the blip had occurred, creating a focused, tight beam of ultra-sensitive energy detection waves. For long, agonizing cycles, the results were frustratingly consistent. Nothing. It's just the vast, empty canvas of space. She almost gave up, almost convinced herself it was indeed just an errant neutrino burst or a faulty sensor reading. Then, just as she was about to reset her systems and return to the drone pre-checks, a faint, undeniable echo materialized on her screen. Not a singular spike this time, but a series of incredibly low-energy bursts, so subtle they were barely distinguishable from the natural cosmic background radiation. Yet, there was a profound difference, a chilling characteristic that set them apart. They were not chaotic, not random. They were perfectly timed, almost rhythmic, like the faint, steady pulse of a colossal, hidden heart. Lyra's crystalline scales, usually calm and reflective, shimmered with a growing unease as she recognized the pattern. This was coherence. This was design. This was ordered energy. No natural phenomenon. No residual gravitational interference. No decaying piece of ancient space junk could produce such intricate, precise signatures across such a vast distance. Her internal diagnostic systems screamed that what she was observing defied all known natural laws for something so faint. As she fed the refined data into the Stellar Whisper's primary holographic projector, pushing for a visual representation, the faint signatures coalesced into something far more profound than mere blips around Earth, precisely within its geostationary and lower orbital bands, where the old human communication satellites and observation platforms once orbited were hundreds, perhaps thousands, of faint, coherent energy signatures. They were not scattered debris, slowly tumbling through space. These were vast, intricately structured formations, perfectly aligned and spaced, like an invisible, complex web spun around the silent planet. They were cloaked, perfectly hidden by technology that went beyond anything the Xylosian Confederacy I had ever encountered or even theorized. The cloaking was so complete that only the most extreme, filtered, and amplified sensor readings could even hint at their existence. A sudden, sharp intake of breath hissed through Lyra's internal atmospheric processors. "Captain, abort drone deployment." Her voice, usually a calm, melodic hum, is now tight with urgency, a raw edge of discovery and apprehension. Her ethereal form vibrated subtly as she forcefully pushed the swirling mass of faint, geometric patterns onto the bridge's main display, overriding the ongoing geological projections. The entire bridge crew, startled by her uncharacteristic tone, turned their attention to the main screen, their multifaceted eyes attempting to decipher the swirling, almost invisible forms. "There's something out there, something huge," Lyra continued, her words tumbling out quickly, trying to convey the enormity of her discovery. "And it's not showing up on standard scans. God, too well hidden." Captain Florian, who had been leaning over his command console, analyzing the mineral readings, slowly straightened, his crystalline blue skin hardening perceptibly, reflecting the sudden shift in his demeanor from relaxed command to focused apprehension. This was unprecedented. A faint anomaly was one thing, but Lyra's tone, her absolute certainty, conveyed something far more significant. The holographic display, showing the swirling, ghost-like forms around Earth, was baffling. His own instruments, still set to standard protocols, showed nothing but empty space. "What are we looking at, Lyra?" he asked, his voice low but firm, a ripple of command running through the bridge. "Energy signatures of unknown origin, Captain, consistent with large artificial structures, but completely cloaked. We're only seeing the barest bleed through." The implication hung heavy in the air. If they were cloaked, it meant they were active. If they were active, it meant they were powered, okay? And if they were powered, after 500,000 years of human absence, then the official galactic history books were profoundly, poignantly wrong. Florian's gaze sharpened, moving from the ghostly patterns on the screen to Lyra's taut, focused form. "K." He trusted her implicitly. "K." Her scientific rigor was legendary. "Prepare the Night Seeker," he ordered, his voice echoing with renewed authority. The Night Seeker was their dedicated scout vessel, a highly advanced stealth craft designed for ultra-close-range reconnaissance in hostile or unknown environments. It possessed the most sophisticated cloaking technology and sensor arrays in the Xylosian fleet, capable of slipping through virtually any detection grid. It was their last resort for truly clandestine observation. "Kale, you have the helm," he commanded it, addressing his most experienced scout pilot. "Investigate the most prominent anomaly within that orbital band. Maintain absolute stealth. 2. Not engage unless provoked." The Night Seeker, a mere speck of dark matter against the star-strewn canvas. Detached from the stellar Whisper's underbelly, its own advanced cloaking field shimmering into full effect, a tense silence fell over the bridge of a larger vessel. Every crew member watched the dot on the tracking screen, a proxy for their own mounting apprehension as the scout ship moved silently, swiftly, towards the designated orbital zone. The distance closed. 100,000 kilometers. 50,010. Kale, piloting the Night Seeker, reported clear sensor readings. Maintaining full stealth, his craft an invisible whisper in the void. He was just moments away from obtaining high-resolution imagery, confirming Lyra's theory. Then, without warning, the Night Seeker's stealth protocols abruptly and violently collapsed on the stellar Whisper's bridge. Kale's small dot on the tracking screen flared into a brilliant, impossible light, momentarily blinding the sensor operators before vanishing completely. A cacophony of alarms erupted from the Night Seeker's last desperate transmission, a flood of impossible data, sensor readings going haywire, systems overloaded and crashing. It wasn't an attack in the conventional sense. No energy blasts, no missile logs. It was as if the Night Seeker had simply ceased to be invisible, forcibly stripped of its technological anonymity. A moment of chilling silence followed, broken only by the stellar Whisper's internal systems screaming warnings that were far too late. Lyra, her hands trembling as she adjusted the main view screen's magnification, gasped aloud. From the blackness of Earth's orbit, were only moments before there had been nothing but the faint, ghostly shimmer of energy. Something impossibly vast and undeniably real began to coalesce. Not just one vessel, but hundreds, then thousands. Colossal, impossibly sleek forms. Their hulls appearing as if sculpted from solidified starlight and polished obsidian, slowly, majestically, began to shimmer into view. They weren't decloaking in a burst of light and energy. It was a gradual, almost ethereal unveiling, as if they were tearing away the very fabric of reality that had concealed them for millennia. They were arrayed in perfect, devastatingly precise formations, silent and watchful. The Xylosian crews on the Stella Whisper's bridge watched, paralyzed, with a mixture of terror and awe, their instruments screaming warnings that were now profoundly, irremediably redundant. The silent cradle of Earth was not empty. It was guarded, and its guardians had just awoken. The day cloaking was a spectacle of impossible scale and breathtaking precision, an event that defied every known astronomical and historical principle, held by the Xylosian Confederacy, and indeed, by every other known spacefaring civilization in the galaxy. It wasn't a sudden flash, nor a violent tearing of space, but a gradual, deliberate shimmer, as if a colossal, invisible curtain was being slowly, majestically drawn back from around the silent blue-green marble of Earth. One by one, then in accelerating waves from the utter blackness of deep space, colossal vessels began to solidify, materializing like phantoms, becoming real. Each one emerging into the cold vacuum with an almost silent grace. These were not crude derelicts, nor the decaying husks of ancient, long-forgotten space stations that might drift as cosmic refuse. These were pristine, active ships, glowing with an internal, contained energy that hinted at slumbering power. They were an immense armada, perfectly arrayed in defensive formations, their vast forms meticulously spaced, aligned with an intricate geometrical precision that spoke of a profoundly advanced, intelligent design. Cage vessel, from the smallest, needle-like interceptor that bristled with barely visible weapon ports, to the gargantuan battleships that dwarfed the stellar Whispers several times over, bore an unmistakable design language. It was a language that resonated deeply with the archived human aesthetic principles that the Xylosians had studied: elegant, powerful, and utterly beyond anything they had ever conceived of or witnessed in their extensive travels across the galactic arm. These were undeniably human ships, a ghost fleet from a civilization declared extinct. Yet, they were not only pristine, but also vibrantly active. Their dormant systems now stirring to life after 500 millennia, aboard the Nightseeker. Still functional, but now terrifyingly exposed in the glaring presence of this impossible fleet. Captain Kale could only stare, his multifaceted eyes wide with a mixture of terror and profound awe. The cockpit's panoramic view, usually a canvas of distant stars, was now filled with the silent, overwhelming presence of humanity's awakened armada. His mind, trained for logical deduction and tactical analysis, struggled desperately to reconcile what his optical sensors registered with the collective galactic history he had committed to memory. Humanity was gone. They had vanished without a trace, leaving only archaeological whispers on their homeworld. Atia, here they were, or at least their magnificent creations were, a silent, unblinking testimony to a power that had merely stepped away, not withered, and died. His communication systems, though still active, were jammed by an unprecedented level of silent, concentrated energy. He tried to hail the stellar whisper, but only static responded. He was alone, a tiny, fragile moth, caught in the sudden, blinding light of a reborn sun. The sheer scale was beyond anything he had ever seen. The Xylosian Confederacy's own fleets, impressive as they were, seemed like children's toys in comparison. This was the pinnacle of warship design, perfected and then seemingly put into cold storage, awaiting a command that had, until now, never come. Then, from the absolute center of the perfectly arrayed fleet, something truly colossal began to stir. It was the largest vessel of them all, a flagship of breathtaking proportions, many times larger even than the Stellar Whisper, sleek, capable of holding an entire Xylosian colony within its cavernous bays. Its silhouette was less overtly aggressive than the battleships surrounding it, possessing an almost organic, flowing grace, yet its immense size conveyed an undeniable, silent authority. As Kale watched, mesmerized and terrified, its primary energy conduits, previously dark and dormant, began to pulse with an internal, almost living, golden light. The light was not harsh or blinding. Rather, it was soft, ethereal, and seemed to emanate from deep within the ship's core, casting an otherworldly, golden glow across the surrounding fleet. It was like watching a sleeping Leviathan slowly, majestically draw its first breath after an eternity of slumber. The energy output, though contained, was immense, an echo of power that vibrated through the very whole of the Nightseeker, causing its internal systems to hum in sympathetic resonance. Before Kale could even formulate a thought, let alone issue a command or attempt to escape, a silent, overwhelming data packet slammed into the Nightseeker's main communication arrays. It wasn't a physical impact, but a brutal, non-destructive surge of information that bypassed all firewalls, shattered every encryption layer, and instantly, utterly overrode his ship's entire operating system. Kale felt a jarring, momentary disassociation, as if his consciousness itself was being flooded with alien data. His console flickered wildly, then stabilized, no longer displaying his flight controls or sensor readings, but a rapid, almost incomprehensible stream of abstract concepts, historical timelines, and highly complex diagrams. It wasn't an attack, he realized with a chilling clarity that resonated deep within his being. It was a forced connection, an immediate, total download of information. What poured into the Night Seeker systems was not malicious code or a threat, but a torrent of data so vast and profound it threatened to overwhelm Kale's every faculty. A detailed, millennia-spanning history of humanity, not as a species that had vanished, but as one that had achieved a form of ultimate mastery. The data detailed their initial rise from a chaotic, conflict-ridden species to a unified, technologically utopian civilization. It showed their mastery over their own biology, their environment, and eventually, the very fabric of reality. The disappearance was not an extinction event at all, as galactic history had wrongly recorded. It was an orchestrated exodus, not a simple migration, but a grand, deliberate ascension. The data explained how humanity had perfected their existence beyond the need for physical bodies. How they had found a way to transcend to a higher plane of existence, a new dimension, or perhaps migrated to a distant, perfected galaxy, leaving their physical forms in this reality behind. This colossal, impeccably preserved, and now awakened fleet was explicitly described as a sentinel protocol, a final, magnificent guardian for their cradle world, Earth. It was designed to autonomously protect the planet, to repair itself, to upgrade its own systems based on cosmic input, and even to guide new life should it arise on their home planet in the far future. Furthermore, it served as a seed vault for a future, unknown purpose. A repository of human knowledge and genetic material, ready to be deployed should the ascended humans ever decide to return, or if some cataclysm threatened the very essence of life on Earth. The ships, the data emphatically stated, weren't empty or derelict. They were sentient, autonomous systems, living machines infused with the collective will and purpose of their creators, patiently awaiting a directive or a threat. They were sleeping sentinels, silent and patient, for 500,000 years. On the stellar Whispers Bridge, Captain Florian, along with Lyra and the rest of the crew, were simultaneously experiencing a less direct but equally overwhelming influx of this same data. It was pouring through the Night Seekers, compromised, yet still connected, systems, flooding the stellar Whispers main processors with an alien wisdom that defied belief. Lyra, her ethereal form now vibrating with controlled exhilaration rather than unease, was rapidly parsing the initial layers of information, translating the complex concepts into digestible insights for her captain. It wasn't an extinction. "Captain," she exclaimed, her voice filled with a tremor of awe. It was ... an evolution. They transcended. The implications were staggering, rewriting every fundamental truth about civilization, evolution, and existence itself. Captain Florian, his crystalline scales now reflecting the golden glow of the human flagship, understood with a chilling certainty. This wasn't merely the discovery of ancient relics or a lost civilization. It was a profound paradigm shift for all galactic civilization, a revelation that would send shockwaves across countless star systems. Humanity hadn't died. They had merely stepped beyond, leaving behind a silent, powerful guardian. The dead world of Earth, the empty cradle they had come to catalog, was, in fact, a sleeping giant, washed over by the most advanced, unassailable fleet the galaxy had never known. A fleet now fully awake and silently observing its unexpected visitors. The Xylotians, who had approached with the intent of simply recording a lost past, now found themselves facing a magnificent, enigmatic present, a future profoundly altered by the silent, powerful, and utterly astounding legacy of an ascended humanity. The Ghost Fleet was awake, and its presence alone was enough to rewrite the cosmic order. The revelation of humanity's orchestrated exodus, far from being a simple disappearance or a tragic extinction, struck the Xylotian crews with the force of a cosmic hammer blow, shattering every preconceived notion they held about the natural progression of civilizations and the ultimate fate of intelligent life. It was a truth so profound, so utterly beyond their existing understanding, that it left them speechless. Their highly logical minds struggling to process the sheer audacity and scale of what they were witnessing and what the incoming data streams were continuously revealing. So data flowing relentlessly from the now fully activated human fleet detailed humanity's technological and philosophical pinnacle, a golden age where they had not merely advanced their machines but had perfected their very existence, evolving beyond the fundamental constraints of physical bodies and the need for a singular, limited dimension. They had, according to the vast archives now being translated by Lyra's frantic efforts, achieved a form of ultimate transcendence, ascending to a higher plane of consciousness, or migrating to a distant, perfected galaxy, a realm of pure thought and energy, leaving their physical universe behind as a discarded chrysalis. The immense, silent fleet they now witnessed, shimmering with an inner light that seemed to draw power from the very fabric of space, was not a relic of a lost past, but a meticulously designed and perpetually active sentinel protocol engineered to protect Earth, their ancestral home, with an unwavering vigilance that had spanned 500,000 years. It was more than a defense system. It was a living, breathing testament to their enduring legacy, timed to autonomously terraform other suitable worlds, if needed, ensuring the spread of compatible life, and even to guide new life, should it organically arise on their home planet in the far distant future. It was a final, uninspiring gift from an ascended species, silent warning to any who would trespass without respect, and a potential seed vault for a future unknown purpose. A grand contingency plan laid down by beings who thought on scales incomprehensible to the Xylosians within the vast, overflowing data packets, which Lyra was now desperately trying to categorize and prioritize for Captain Florian. The Xylosians found not just historical records, but theoretical physics concepts that utterly shattered their fundamental understanding of the universe. There were equations describing realities with more than 3 spatial dimensions, theories on the manipulation of dark matter and energy, and glimpses into the very fabric of space-time that made their own most advanced scientific models seem like crude, elementary sketches. There were detailed schematics of energy generation methods that defied known laws, producing seemingly infinite power from vacuum fluctuations in zero-point energy fields, principles that their most brilliant minds had only ever considered in abstract, unprovable theories. And then there were the propulsion systems, drives that could bend space itself, allowing instantaneous travel across unimaginable distances without recourse to wormholes or traditional warp fields, making the Xylosians' own advanced warp drives, which were the pride of their fleet, seem like cumbersome, primitive toys designed for short-range jaunts. The sheer depth and breadth of human knowledge, preserved and maintained by the automated fleet, was overwhelming. A treasure trove of scientific and philosophical wisdom that promised to rewrite every textbook in the known galaxy. Captain Kale, who had been forcibly brought back aboard the Stellar's Whisper after the Nightseeker was rendered immobile but surprisingly undamaged, now stood beside Captain Florian on the bridge, both of them staring at the main holographic display, which pulsed with the endless flow of human data. Kale, still reeling from the intimate and terrifying forced download into his scout ship's systems, felt a profound shift in his own understanding of existence. This wasn't merely a discovery of ancient, powerful relics. It was a paradigm shift for all galactic civilization. Humanity hadn't merely disappeared. Keen, they had transcended, leaving behind a silent, powerful, keen, and utterly autonomous guardian that now represented the pinnacle of galactic evolution, the dead world of Earth, which they had approached with the casual confidence of archaeologists exploring an empty ruin, was, in fact, a sleeping giant, watched over by the most advanced, most sophisticated fleet the galaxy had never known. The chilling thought settled over Captain Florian. They had come here expecting to find ghosts, and instead, they had found gods. The implication was clear and terrifying. This fleet was not just defending Earth. It was a potential force that could reshape the entire galaxy. A dormant power that had, until now, chosen merely to observe. Lyra's voice, little strained from the rapid processing of unimaginable data, broke the stunned silence on the bridge. Captain, the primary directive of the Sentinel Protocol is clear, she announced, her ethereal form shimmering with the reflected light of the data streams. It is to protect Earth at all costs, to prevent any species from interfering with its natural development unless explicitly permitted. It also possesses protocols for self-replication, self-repair, continuous technological evolution based on ambient cosmic data and potential threats. She paused, her luminous eyes focusing on a specific data cluster. Furthermore, it contains a comprehensive galactic outreach protocol, a set of pre-programmed responses and knowledge transfers designed to engage with new sentient species, but only under conditions of non-aggression and demonstrated intellectual curiosity. The sheer foresight, the meticulous planning that spanned 500,000 years, was staggering. Humanity had not only planned their own transcendence, but had also orchestrated a complex, automated guardian system to interact with future galactic inhabitants, a cosmic message in a bottle sent across an ocean of time. Captain Florian absorbed Lyra's words, his mind racing through countless scenarios. They had inadvertently triggered the Galactic Outreach Protocol by their very presence, by the Night Seekers' probing intrusion. They were not seen as a threat, but as a discovery, a new species encountering the legacy. The silence of the fleet, its continued non-aggression, despite Kale's proximity, spoke volumes. It was observing them, analyzing them, just as they were, analyzing it. The initial fear began to recede, replaced by a profound, almost overwhelming sense of wonder and responsibility. They were the first to truly grasp the monumental scope of humanity's final act. The empty cradle of Earth was now understood as a sacred, Q-audible sanctuary, guarded by an unparalleled force that existed simply to preserve and observe. Stellar Whisper, a tiny vessel in the shadow of this grand, silent armada, now carried a secret that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The dead world of Earth was, in fact, a vibrant, sleeping giant, watched over by the most advanced fleet the galaxy had never known, a fleet whose existence alone redefined the very concept of power, evolution, and the boundless, terrifying potential of life itself. The suspense was no longer about an unknown threat, but about the profound, unimaginable possibilities that this silent, watchful fleet now presented to a galaxy that had believed itself to be at the pinnacle of cosmic understanding. The Xylution, Confederacy's high command, situated in a sprawling, crystal-domed city on their homeworld, received the initial, cautious reports from the Stellar Whisper with a mixture of disbelief and outright skepticism. Such a monumental, clean-art, hidden, ultra-advanced fleet guarding Earth, a world long ago categorized as a dead civilization, and the notion of humanity having transcended rather than simply vanished sounded like the ravings of a crew suffering from prolonged deep space isolation. Senior strategists scoffed, science counselors demanded additional, irrefutable proof, and the entire High Command initially dismissed the reports as either a grave misunderstanding or perhaps even a deliberate fabrication. However, as Captain Florian, with the invaluable assistance of Lyra, began to transmit the raw data, the irrefutable visual confirmations, and the initial, albeit fragmentary, historical archives directly from the human fleet's core systems, skepticism rapidly crumbled, replaced by a profound, almost paralyzing awe and a palpable sense of unease that rippled through every level of the Xylution government and beyond. the holographic projections of the massive, active human fleet, shimmering with that ethereal, internal, golden light, filled the Grand Council chambers, reducing the assembled dignitaries to stunned silence. The sheer scale, the impossible elegance, and the obvious, overwhelming power of these vessels defied all logic. News of the Ghost Fleet, as it was quickly and ominously dubbed by the galactic media, spread like wildfire through the entire galactic community. The Xylusian Confederacy, renowned for its strict adherence to verifiable scientific principles and its meticulous record-keeping, could not suppress the truth once the data began to disseminate. Information, even in the vastness of space, had a way of finding its path across countless star systems, on worlds inhabited by species with vastly different physiologies and cultures. The notion of a species achieving such unparalleled technological and spiritual transcendence, then leaving behind an autonomous, self-upgrading armada as a final, silent sentinel, was not just unprecedented, it was terrifyingly revolutionary. The galactic archives, meticulously compiled over millennia by various civilizations, had no precedent for such an event. Debates erupted across countless star systems, fueled by holographic news feeds and encrypted data bursts. Was this an act of ultimate wisdom, the benevolent ascension of a truly enlightened species? Or was it an act of profound abandonment, leaving behind a power that could, if ever misdirected, unleash unimaginable destruction? Was it a testament to their foresight, or a chilling display of their indifference to the lesser civilizations still grappling with their physical forms? The questions were as numerous as the stars, and answers were nowhere in sight. The major galactic powers, including the expansionist Viridian Collective and the ancient, isolationist Lumina Concord, usually at odds or indifferent to each other's affairs, found themselves united by this singular, monumental discovery: the sheer power and sophistication of the human fleet, which remained dormant but clearly watchful in Earth's orbit. Its silent presence, a constant, unblinking eye, demanded a unified response. No single species, not even the combined might of the most powerful empires, could risk provoking such an unknown, unfathomable force. After weeks of tense, frantic interspecies diplomacy, cues marked by unprecedented cooperation and a shared sense of existential wonder, the Xylusian Confederacy, along with several of its most influential allied species, including the highly analytical Vorlag and the technologically advanced Signan, decided to establish a joint research station within the Sol system. This station, a marvel of cooperative engineering, was built with an emphasis on stealth and long-range observation, maintaining a respectful, wide berth from the silently orbiting human fleet. Their primary objective, officially stated, was to meticulously study the vast repository of human knowledge that the Stellar Whisper had initially accessed. And the human fleet now continuously transmitted in controlled bursts, hoping to decipher its deepest secrets and to understand the true meaning and implications of humanity's unprecedented ascension, unofficially. However, there was another, far more pressing objective: to determine if the Sentinel Protocol could ever be turned against them, or if its sheer, unyielding presence would forever limit their own expansion into this particular stellar neighborhood. The human fleet, still silent and majestically arrayed in its perfect orbital formations, became more than just a military marvel. It became a pilgrimage site for scientists, philosophers, and even spiritual leaders from across the galaxy. It was a place where species from diverse backgrounds came to witness the silent power and enduring legacy of a race that had achieved the unimaginable. A silent monument to a species that had transcended the very boundaries of conventional existence. The air around the joint research station crackled with intellectual energy as brilliant minds from across the galaxy poured over the endless streams of human data. They studied the intricate energy generation schematics, the revolutionary propulsion concepts, and the profound philosophical treatises on consciousness and existence. Every breakthrough, every translated concept, sent new ripples of shock and awe through the galactic community. The human fleet. This silent, watchful entity stood as a new, unyielding beacon, a testament to a vanished species' boundless potential, and a daunting reminder of power that lay beyond current comprehension. The suspense on the galactic stage was no longer about conflict, but about the profound, unsettling questions posed by humanity's legacy. What if they returned? What if they had left a test, a challenge for future civilizations? And most unnerving of all, what if this ascension was not a benevolent act, but a warning of a path too dangerous, a power too vast for any lesser species to wield? The galaxy, once confident in its understanding of its place in the cosmos, now felt a chilling uncertainty, a profound humbling in the face of a species that had simply left, leaving behind only a silent, watchful armada as its final, enigmatic message. The Sol System, once a forgotten backwater, was now the epicenter of galactic attention, a silent, cosmic library guarded by the ghosts of a truly advanced civilization, forever altering the perception of what life could become. The future of galactic exploration and development now pivoted around this silent, golden fleet, its very existence reshaping the destiny of every sentient being in the known universe. Years, then decades, and eventually centuries turned into a flowing stream of time, each one marked by relentless intellectual pursuit and profound discovery within the Sol System, now transformed from a quiet, overlooked backwater into the undisputed intellectual and scientific hub of the galaxy. The Joint Galactic Research Initiative, spearheaded by the Zolosian Confederacy, but encompassing the finest minds from countless allied species, grew exponentially, becoming a sprawling network of orbital laboratories and deep space observatories. They meticulously dissected the unfathomable depths of the human data, slowly, painstakingly piecing together the complex, multi-layered puzzle of their unprecedented transcendence. It was a task that required not just advanced processing power, but a fundamental revaluation of physics, biology, and even metaphysics. The sheer volume of information was staggering, hinting at a civilization that had explored every conceivable frontier of knowledge. Technologies, once thought purely hypothetical, confined to the wildest dreams of science fiction, began to be reverse-engineered with agonizing slowness. Anti-gravity plating, energy shields that could deflect miniature stars, and forms of sentient AI, far more advanced than any existing construct, were glimpsed within the data streams. Philosophical concepts that fundamentally challenged galactic norms, ideas about collective consciousness, the nature of reality, and the potential for life to exist beyond material form were widely discussed, debated, and eventually grudgingly accepted as profound, if terrifying, truths. The hidden advanced fleet itself, still orbiting Earth in perfect, unyielding formation, became more than just a military marvel or a scientific curiosity. It evolved into a sacred pilgrimage site. Species from across the galaxy, driven by a shared sense of wonder and a yearning for deeper understanding, came in droves to witness the silent power and enduring legacy of a race that had not merely vanished, but had achieved the unimaginable. It was a silent, grand university in the sky, its classrooms the very void of space, its lessons etched into the fabric of a celestial armada during one such epoch, marked by a rare and awe-inspiring celestial event, perfectly aligned triple stellar flare, a cosmic ballet of immense energy that bathed the Sol System in a vibrant, fluctuating cascade of light and radiation. Something unprecedented occurred. The event, usually a cause for scientific observation and a minor navigational hazard, triggered an unexpected response from the heart of the human fleet. A faint, yet undeniably powerful, signal emanated directly from the human flagship, the colossal vessel that served as the silent nexus of the entire armada. It wasn't a crude, conventional communication. There was no verbal message, no direct command, no intelligible language. Instead, it was a burst of complex, ethereal data, a song encoded not in sound, but in pure information, resonating directly with the scientific instruments of the orbital research station. This song was a symphony of universal truths, a dazzling array of complex mathematical theorems that solved problems which had stumped galactic physicists for eons. In ethereal patterns, hinting at new dimensions and possibilities of existence that lay far beyond their current three-dimensional comprehension. It was a transcendence echo, a final, profound confirmation of humanity's ultimate journey, a lingering farewell from beings who had moved beyond the need for conventional communication on the main bridge of the Xylosian research outpost. Facility, now manned by a multi-species crew of the most brilliant scientific minds in the galaxy, including a vastly more experienced and renowned Lyra, who had ascended to the role of chief xenolinguist and data analyst. The moment was one of profound, hushed reverence. The raw data streamed across the primary displays, translating into swirling fractals of light, complex energetic signatures, and sequences of information that seemed to rearrange the very structure of their understanding. Lyra, her luminous eyes wide with a mixture of comprehension and overwhelming emotion, was at the forefront of the analysis. "It's a blueprint," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the excited hum of the various species around her. "Not for a machine, but for a state of being. It's a pathway, a conceptual map to their ascended reality." The signal wasn't a command. It was an invitation, or perhaps simply a final testament to their boundless journey. It confirmed what many had theorized, but few had truly believed. Humanity hadn't merely left. They had ascended to a higher state of being, a form of consciousness that transcended the limitations of physical existence. They had not only taken the next evolutionary step, but had also left behind this magnificent, living legacy, the Fleetas, a final guiding star, a beacon for any who might follow. The implications of the transcendence echo resonated, throughout the galactic community with an intensity that dwarfed even the initial discovery of the fleet. It wasn't just knowledge, it was an inspiration, a tantalizing glimpse into a future that had once seemed impossible. The Xylosian scientists, along with their multi-species colleagues, watching the data stream, weren't just stunned. They were profoundly changed. The echo sparked a renaissance across the galaxy, inspiring new fields of study, forging unprecedented scientific collaborations, and fundamentally altering the perception of what life could achieve. It dissolved ancient rivalries and petty conflicts, uniting disparate species under the shared pursuit of this new, unfathomable frontier. The very purpose of galactic civilizations seemed to shift, moving beyond mere expansion and resource acquisition, towards a more profound, existential quest. The mystery of humanity had evolved from a cautionary tale to an ultimate aspiration. The silent, watchful fleet remained, a constant reminder of the echo, a tangible link to a transcendent reality. It continued its subtle, autonomous operations, its purpose solidified as the ultimate guardian and the ultimate teacher. The Sol system, once a blank space on galactic maps, became a sacred ground, a place where all species could gaze upon the silent, golden ships and ponder the limitless potential within themselves. The final suspense was not about the fleet's intentions, but about the galaxy's ability to grasp the profound lesson left by humanity's echo. Could they follow? Not militarily, but spiritually and intellectually. The Xylosians and their allies were no longer just observers. They were students, profoundly changed, their minds opened to the boundless, terrifying, and utterly inspiring potential of a species they had once simply dismissed as vanished dust, now understood as the ultimate pioneers of existence, whose silent echo continued to reverberate across the cosmos, guiding them towards an unimaginable future. The universe, once a known quantity, had suddenly become infinite with possibility. It's all thanks to the enduring legacy of Earth's silent advance. Fleet.